Welcome to Module 4. So today is June 2nd, which is my 15th wedding anniversary. And 15 years ago, it was raining, it was cold, but honeymoon in Vegas was warm, and remember seeing Hoover Dam and the Grand Canyon. And back then, things weren't quite as regulated as they are today. And walking through Hoover Dam and literally being from here to here from tools and switches and things like that, and they just kind of let you go by. Things that wouldn't happen today. But there was one man on our tour when we got to the Grand Canyon who wanted to look over the edge, so he kept going closer and closer and closer, and almost lost his balance, so we almost took the bus back with one less. But yeah, so 15 years today, and I am glad to do our Module 4 video. Welcome to Module 4. A few things. One is I did plan to shoot this outside, but our neighbors have decided to put on the party of the century because today's the last day of school here in Portage. So there is no purpose in trying to speak louder than what they have going on over there with their speakers and drums and everything else they can beat on. So we are down here yet for another Fireside Chat, but it doesn't feel bad actually. You know, it's kind of cool today, so fire's feeling good. Got another Badger shirt on. I still probably got like 3 of these that I haven't worn yet. Module 4 runs Monday, June 6th through Sunday, June 12th. And I did update grades, and let me set the timer to make sure that we don't necessarily run over. I don't know what that means since I just started it right now, but memory, yes. So a few things. One is I did update your grades, so your grades are posted through modules 1 and 2. You'll see those. Make sure that you're doing the checklist, and you'll see that underneath every time I post a module, you'll have a checklist to go in that you've completed the things, because you do get points for that. And make sure too that you're submitting the assignments on time. I did have to email a few people about that. You know, at the start of class, I'm somewhat lenient with that because I know it's a new format and it's a hectic time of year for everybody, but we need to get on track with that, and especially once we get to the end of class on July 1st. Like, everything needs to be submitted on July 1st because that class needs to wrap up and be submitted to Viterbo so grades can get out and everything else. So again, most of you have been doing a great job, but for some of you who've kind of flexed the timelines, don't do that. Or something is coming up where you know, you need an extension, or you need to do it early, or whatever. Let me know ahead of time. We'll work something out. Few things. A couple days ago, I chaperoned on Tuesday my kindergartner's field trip, and it was to Wisconsin Dells to the Tommy Bartlett show. So you got to see the water ski show. And interesting because I was chaperoning my daughter and another girl. We had a number of chaperones. So we each had about 2 kids assigned to us. And of course, after they had burned through their $5–6 on popcorn and Sierra Mist and whatever, they decided they wanted snow cones. So being the nice guy that I am, I got snow cones. And then pretty soon everybody in the entire section noticed that. And these were kids who weren't even affiliated with our school. So they're like, "Sir, can you get us a snow cone?" I'm like, "No, I can't. There's like 100 of you. There's one of me, and I did not bring a bank along, you know." So it was, yeah, kind of funny that way, but it was great weather actually for the show. And then when we went on the ducks, it turned into a monsoon, just a wild rainstorm, and they still ran the ducks, which was amazing. So we get out there, and I've been on the ducks, you know, countless times, being from, living in this area and such. And I've never been on the ducks during a heavy rainstorm, and it's amazing to be on the Wisconsin River and see the rain hit the river. And then also the ducks going through the muddy trails, and they don't go as smooth through that as they do on the traditional tours. So during the one point, if you've been on a duck tour, you've heard this, if not, but there's one point you go up through kind of this area that has cliffs on both sides, and the driver says the duck is 8 foot 2 inches wide, and there's some points in here which are 8 foot 6 inches wide. And he did manage to rub up against a tree on one side. It kind of slid over. No one was hurt or anything, and it just, it was very, very minor. It didn't do anything to the duck, but I was like, well, glad I wasn't driving that day, but he did a super job. He's a fun driver, really fun with the kids. But yeah, that's a whole different thing when you go out there and the trails are all mudded up and right after a rain, and actually during the rain. I did complete the Ph.D. It's been approved, deposited, done. They convinced me to buy the bound covers, so I have one from myself, my aunt, and also for my parents. So things that they will never look at, but they can show and say, my son, here's his PhD. I'll probably reference it once in a while, so I should probably have a pretty good copy with me when I go out and do some of my consulting work. Talking about consulting work, I'm consulting on a safety movie, which I think I shared, and my daughter, who's 9, helped me work on some of the scripts this past weekend. So we wrote out 8 scripts that I was assigned to write out, and the population is really targeted toward 4th, 5th grade, with my daughter's 4th grade. And she really gave some terrific insight, because I'd say, okay, here's a scenario I'm going to write about, whatever, kids on a playground, or it's hard to come up with 8 scenarios, but I did come up with them, and then I had to go through logistically of here's why to do this, here's why not to do that, and so forth, and back it up with research and other things. But the producer was thrilled, and so tomorrow night we do a kind of a hybrid Google Chat type thing between one of his writers. He'll be on, I'll be on, the stuff I submitted will be on, and then they'll try to flesh it out more into an actual script, and then they'll run that through a couple times and get their actors to shoot it, and then probably in a week or 2 I'll get a rough copy of that back in film. So amazing process how this works, and something I never thought I'd do. And it's funny because it doesn't really matter to me if I do this or not. I'm glad I'm doing it, but if I wasn't doing it, it doesn't mean anything. And that almost makes it more fun. And there's another manuscript the producer is considering called The Chair. Now, I think if you searched it, you probably wouldn't find anything, because I just think it's internally called that. But it's based on a real story of an old school that they found a room. And this was recently, like a few months ago, and then they generated the script off of it. But they found a room that was kind of blocked off in the basement of this school, this really, really old school, and there was a door, but it was off the ground and whatever, like a crawl space door. And they opened up the door, it had been sealed shut, and the only thing inside the room you could see with a flashlight was a chair in the corner. So somebody went and worked on a manuscript called The Chair, and the premise behind it is that they're going to try to track down through initials or whatever the card on chair, but who was assigned to that chair? What was in that punishment? Where are they today? Is it some executive person? Is it whatever? Is it someone that became a teacher? I mean, I don't know where they're going with that. I don't know, but they did approach me and ask if I do some work on The Chair. So who knows here, you know? I don't know. Ever since I got this camcorder, you know, life's really been on an upswing for my movie career. I did wipe my bike out, smashed the derailleur, so that is bad news. Yeah, not good. So, shoutouts, Janet, inclusion of athletes. So I'm going to go back a little bit to the very end of Module 2. I've liked all of the timelines. Everyone did a wonderful job. And sometimes I ask, can I use this in another class? And the reason I ask that is because it's probably a timeline I don't already have saved somewhere else that someone else hasn't done. So, because again, I've taught this class a number of times. I do have a lot of timelines saved, but sometimes I'll run across things that I haven't really seen before, and that's where I might ask if I can have permission to use it in a different class. But Janet, you talked about inclusion of athletes, and it was very clear, you know, with athletics, it went from cosmetic, you know, for amputees, from a cosmetic effect. Like after the Civil War, there was this huge breakout of industry and cosmetics, you know, like a reconstructive face and things like that, which was actually, you know, some pretty remarkable stuff that they did. But you made the jump from cosmetic procedures to functional, to, you know, running and swimming, and the story of Jim Abbott, you know, being the pitcher without a hand. I mean, amazing stuff. So I really like that. That was very intriguing, and I think again opens people up, because to a different line of thinking. You know, it's not where I would go originally when I was thinking about that. So nice work with that. Tracy, your inclusive books, I had never seen that list before. I've seen a number of books, but like Junkyard Wonders. I mean, you picked out some incredible, very interesting books, and so thank you. And that's something that I look forward to sharing in the future. Anytime that can be incorporated within the library or within the regular classroom, that's a plus. And I would always have teachers do that with food allergy books too, because we did have food allergies at all of our schools, especially, you know, at elementary school we would make sure we included food allergy books similar to this. Rebecca, you mentioned, you had a very intriguing post, and this one I've rolled around in my head a little bit, and I kind of ran this past some other people, like not with your name or nothing like that, but just was talking about, you were talking about quarter one and how students were struggling with independence and self-esteem, and you know that actually seems common, which is frightful in a way. And I was asking some of my teacher friends if they were observing that, and yeah, and of course, you know, the mental health component of cutting or depression, and just not very excited, you know, about school, you know, affect, not the big smile and the excitement. One of the things I think that can be an antidote somewhat to that, and I talked about this at one point, was sense of agency and purpose, looking at a peer mentor program, either peers mentoring peers or older students mentoring younger students. And one of the things I remember doing was having students in my alternative school put together a video about food allergy and hand washing and the importance. And then they showed this video. They went to the elementary schools and they showed this video, and then they had the special black light, and so you'd wash your hands and they'd show you what germs will still be on. it was phenomenal. I mean, it was incredible, the work that they put into this, and the technique, and just how devoted they were to it. But I thought to myself, like, no one probably would have asked that group of students to take that project on, and it was great. So I guess what I'm saying, you know, when you have younger kids that kind of are struggling with agency and purpose and not really seeing the, like, why am I doing this, and curriculums are moving to try to get students to set goals and to look forward to the future. I think when you bring in older students, that helps a lot, bridging that gap. You know, they can kind of envision themselves a little bit down the road. But yeah, it was very thought-provoking. Module 3, so let's do a review. We had the video of where I interviewed Greg about his year in China, and again, I'm still, and I had an off the record conversation with Greg about that too, and you know, really got down into the fact of, okay, you know, yeah, the one boy who was included finally at that class, and I did mention this, like, was there any other way that you could get a student included? Because, you know, through, if it was a government bribe or whatever, or, I mean, to pay a teacher was minimal, I don't know. And an aide, I mean, you could pay a teacher and an aide for $25,000, $30,000 total. So you could, like, basically staff everything and whatever if you're a wealthy parent. No, it just, that door was closed. And he said, going to the hospital, there would never be a diagnosis of autism or anything to that effect. It was more or less healthy or not healthy, and you're plugged into antibiotics. So he indicated that the pressure, I mean, students would spend so much time in school, then they come home and they would study. And when they would get out at recess time, they didn't know what to do. They would just either stand around or they'd run up and down the hallways, but they didn't know how to play games. Like, they didn't, as a group, they didn't. He had to teach that. But he talked about a girl who got one wrong on her test, and you know, maybe 5th grade or whatever this was the equivalent. And she sat for the rest of her day with her head on her books and cried because she had gotten this one wrong, and it just wasn't acceptable to have this one. So just to reflect on a different cultural thing. In the United States, I think one of the things that makes us very strong is that schools have a different approach toward education, and that helps. That diversity helps cover areas of weakness. For example, you know, if you have a tomato plant of only like one specific genetic make, and you know, there's a bug then that can take out that tomato plant, then you're done. Then there's no tomatoes. But if you have a variety, then, you know, some are going to be more resistive, but I guess what I'm trying to say is variety gives you that ability, especially when you start to get into teamwork and collaboration, where some of the missing pieces in those projects are within those team members. And it's going to always be kind of pluralist, like it's not always be the same people. Other people will come up and they'll have ideas, but that's not the way it is in China. I just had a friend come back from there too. Learn to live together. One of the things that I thought about with that too is, I remember being young, and you know, so young, like maybe, I don't know, 10, and watching somebody with a scooter at a Walmart type store, and I think back then it was Kmart or whatever it was, but and it was just, you're amazed because you never saw this. I mean, it just didn't happen. And you know, so you're watching go up and down the aisles and whatever, and but you know, today that's just commonplace. And I could shop at Walmart and there could be 10 people with scooters, and you could do an exit interview as I left and say, did you notice anyone on scooters? Be like, I don't know. I mean, just because it's just people shopping. That's what it is. It's just people shopping. You're no longer fixated on this piece of equipment which is so out of the ordinary. So I think that's a really good thing in society. I think it really is. And one of the things too, at the Tommy Bartlett show, there was a few kids that had headphones on. I assume they might have had autism. Students in wheelchairs and other things, and just, I mean, everything all blends together where, 25, 30 years ago that would have not been the case as much. I think more of, standing out. So research supports inclusion, numerous studies on that, but we do have situations. I've experienced this as a director where a parent will say, I don't feel my daughter is safe in this third grade class because this boy has thrown a chair a couple times, and they'll pull that student out of that class and enroll in a different school or something like that. I don't see that very often, but sometimes it does. Sometimes that does happen. And let's look ahead to Module 4, and then I have a little short story I might come back to if we have some time here. So I can see how long you watched these, so I know you didn't watch the last one until the very end. So either I'm not entertaining or these are just getting too long. Rita Pierson in Module 4, she's phenomenal, energizing. You'll love it. And one of the favorite things to me is there's a student has a test, there's 20 items on the test, he gets 18 wrong and 2 right, and she puts a +2 on the paper. And instead of putting the -18, but she doesn't work from a deficit model. I think we do that so much, and IEPs are written from a deficit model. They're designed that way. It doesn't matter if you're the best IEP writer in the world, the document is designed from a deficit standpoint. The inclusive school setting stories and books, supports and barriers. Okay. Oh, I was going to say, I have no idea what I'm talking about there, but no, there's a few stories that are covered about some different school settings and how they approached inclusion, and so you'll read about those this week and how it worked, and also some of the barriers to that, so some comparisons. And remind you that this is largely legible, so I did inherit my dad's handwriting. So this would be great for some kind of coding, though, because I don't think anyone would be able to cipher it. For me, one of the things I think is missing in this module that I'm going to have to revisit it, and you've posted it in your so far in this class, is students with mental health needs and trauma-informed care. Like, how do you serve students in the regular education classroom and include them when they have severe, let's say, mental health needs? And the answer is you do the best that you can. And the second part of that is you just decide that you're going to do it. And when people fence it, and you think there's an option, when people think there's an option to do something, they'll stall out sometimes because maybe it's not going to come true. Once you take that away and you say, no, we're going ahead with this. This is the way that we're going to do this. That changes everything. I mean, then people's mindset is like, okay, we're doing this. This is what we're doing. And that's one thing over my years as an administrator that had served me well, is to not be a fence sitter. But so we look at mental health. I'm going to give an example. We had a girl a couple of years ago in a school I served with a severe anxiety disorder, middle school girl. And for this girl, she could not enter the middle school building. Literally would shake, would become sick. And what we did is we set up a Skype system and a video monitor in her classroom and then at home, and she was able then to watch the class for a certain amount of time, then Skype in, and some of the classmates Skyped back to her, and then went back and forth. some of them met outside of school then, and eventually, we got her back into school, and she would arrive a little bit later after everyone else had already settled into the rooms, and then she would go down to her classroom. But that's a medical diagnosis, and for the teacher, we sat down and got the physician involved and to really understand what we were dealing with there, because that was very unique. I thought we did a great job working with that. But it is one of those things where autism kind of was blossoming as a diagnosis 15, 20 years ago, and not that it's not so prevalent, but what's taking over for that right now is mental health. And mental health is also kind of a global term, but boy oh boy, we're seeing a lot of that. Any trainings you have the opportunity to go to for mental health or trauma-informed care, do it. When, again, I was a director, I look back at all the trainings my staff went to the last 2 years when I started at one of my positions, and most of the trainings were either autism or, something, maybe behavior, a little bit of reading. But I looked at that, and what happened is, someone probably went to the same autism conference 5 years in a row. But yet what we needed people to go and learn about functional behavioral assessments and behavior intervention plans and trauma-informed care. And also we had areas of need in math, and we sent nobody to math. So what we did was we revamped and had people attend professional development, which matched the needs that we had. So for Module 4, you're going to have something called discussion options. You'll see this in a thread. So you can have a mission statement, circle of courage, or leadership. Leadership counts, and so you'll pick one of those, and you'll write about it. It's very explicit in there. But one of the things, if you do a mission statement, and maybe I'm tipping my hat here, but I think a mission statement should have the word fun in it. Some of them do. And actually, a place that I worked had the word fun, and it was not fun at all. But fun should be part of a mission statement, because humanity is fun. Kids need to have fun. Staff need to have fun, and be able to reflect and poke a little fun at everyone, at themselves, because it's not disrespectful to do that at all. But it's what keeps us from being that girl who gets one wrong on a test and puts her head down and cries for the rest of the day. So, if it is fun, that might be where the principal, if there's so many books read, then the principal's desk is put on top of the school, and then the principal works up there for the day. Has to work on top of the school or something like that. But don't be afraid to have fun. And I say that because there are some environments, again, my network of administrators, but there are some environments where my administrator peers are saying they feel they cannot express humor or fun because it's misinterpreted as being just not taking the situation serious enough. Maybe the plight of the children that they serve, or what's going on at a state level with funding, or things like that. And of course people take that seriously. And if you've watched the TV show MASH, the humor that happens in the OR room is humor just for really, it's humor for survival. And sometimes, when you do have fun, it brings you back to a baseline, reminds you of why you're really there. Reminds kids too of why hey, it's fun. It's fun to be a kid. It's fun to go out, build a snowman, snow fort, things like that. So I'm going to go back to a story. Now this might be just a tad long, but let me do this one quick. It's a good story. If you want to turn me off at this point, that's fine. I grew up in an all-white high school, and a small high school. Graduated 44 students out of my class. went to a 2-year college where it was probably 95+% white. And I did not have an African American classmate as a partner until I got into my doctoral studies. So I had two ladies, and they were both awesome. I learned tons from them. Very gifted researchers. So we worked well as a team. We all had skills that complemented each other. But something very interesting happened. We talk about inclusion. It got to be, we're at Memorial, which is across the library across from the bookstore at UW-Madison. And this is like 5 years ago or something. But it got to the point where it was borderline where you could order food, but you weren't supposed to bring food up into the rooms where you studied. I guess there was an area you could eat downstairs. I don't know. But so what they said is, well, you know, we want Chinese food. Like, we should all chip in and order Chinese. But if we go down and get it, they're not going to let us bring it up. But if you go down and get it, being the white male in your, at that time, late 30s, they're not going to say anything about it. And I was like, really? And I hadn't even thought about it that way. I said, yeah, they won't blink an eye. So we ordered it. I went down, picked the package up, like right in front of the front desk people, packaged Chinese food, and walked and went right upstairs with it. Now, whether that would have happened with the other two ladies, I don't know, but I thought, I mean, that was really fascinating to me. I just had never observed that from that positionality before. You know, here are these two brilliant young ladies, and yet feeling that if they were to order this and go down, that they would not have been allowed to bring the food up. So, you know, talking about inclusion and exclusion and societal acceptance and just that. But it was, I don't know, it still sticks with me to this day, and it sticks with me in a good way and a bad way. A good way because every time I think of them, I have great thoughts because we work so well as a team and present it so well, and I learned so much, and I still keep in contact with both of them. Still keep in contact. And but also the fact of how sad that is that they felt that way, and that might have been accurate, you know. So we talk about inclusion, and you know, we're adults. Think about if kids are getting that feeling. So I don't know, but all right, here is the deal. The dealio. Again, it's my anniversary. My youngest daughter is on the kindergartner is on a camping trip with some relatives until Monday. My oldest daughter is upstairs with a friend, and they are doing a sleepover tonight. I need to get up 5:15 in the morning for work. You probably just heard that. So hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit of sleep tonight. And but I don't have much left on the horizon. One of the ironic things is I ordered 3 external hard drives to back up all of my computer stuff. If I were to flip this computer around and look over there, there's a monitor, 2 screens on the side of it, a big CPU. It's a real production because I do, you know, a lot of Skype and video stuff out of here too for different consulting things. But excuse me, hiccups. But the one drive like that I did not want to die, like that I wanted to back up. So I'm waiting until my dissertation is done because I don't want to have anything go wrong, although I had pretty much everything uploaded to Google Docs. So like I'm just waiting, and then I bought special software, worked great, and I got to this drive, dead. Drive's gone. So part of it was backed up, and I don't know what I lost. It's probably nothing catastrophic. So I did get a different drive today from Amazon that came in, so I'll go in and I'll back up that other section. But I was like, just as what I was hoping was not going to happen. But thank goodness for Google Drive, because once I got toward the end, I just uploaded everything into Google Drive. So that's where my stuff resides now. So, but yes, keep posting and make sure, because again, one of the things I'm seeing is we're not quite keeping up with, if in parentheses, if you see the post is due that day, that means it's due that day. And also the assignments. And you don't really have anything big for assignments from this point out. You have posts that are due, but you will have your Bill Porter assignment the last week, and I'll make sure that I open up things early enough so you can go in and see what that's all about. But make sure you're spending time in the class. And some of you are doing a wonderful job with that. And I don't want to sound critical, because I understand what it's like to be a teacher at this time of the year and with everything going on. But again, I mean, you're enrolled in this class. Make sure that you're going in and doing the things that you need to do to keep up with the course. And really, between this week and next week should be pretty good as far as not having a whole bunch to do. So, all right. Hey, I did appreciate the fire down here, and again, another Badger shirt. So I have maybe 3 left, and after that, I don't know. We'll have to see what comes out of the closet. I do have a pretty cool black golf shirt, which I think would be pretty neat too, and of course a couple of Packer shirts. So have a great Module 4, and yeah. If you've wrapped up school, start to enjoy your summer. If not, get ready for the summer. I go till June 10th, but like I said, my daughters are done today. So thank you again, and safe travels to you. Thank you.